Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 829.33 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Oh, we're going today. So I'm hearing some people lament about the purge of people who are just absolute ghouls in their reaction to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Oh, I thought you didn't like cancel culture. This is purge. This is free speech, First Amendment. Shut up. Oh, my God. Almost every day in this line of work for the past 23 years, one of you ghouls have tried to get me fired for saying something that you don't agree with. You think I have any compunction or hesitation or my foot's even hovering over in the brake on you people getting fired? How many people did you just fire over COVID mandates? How many people did you just fire because, well, you know, if it saves one life, we got to shut down all small businesses and we'll only take you to the big box realtors? And what did like 500,000 small restaurants close or over 1 million small businesses were killed by the COVID lockdowns? Now, that doesn't count technically as a firing, but that's the same thing. When you lose your job, when your small business closes, that is your job. You lost it. You didn't care about any of those people. You didn't care. It was more important that you felt safe, that you had to control the private activities of all Americans with no due process for a disease that's 99.9% survivable. Oh, no. No, boo-boo. You get no sympathy over here. I lost 2 jobs because of your butt-headedness. Oh, I wish I could use worse words. During COVID. You know how many teachers got fired during COVID for not taking the shot that doesn't work that was sold to them under lies from a mandate? You know how many pilots lost their job? You know how many soldiers lost their job? Hell, even talk show hosts lost their jobs. I couldn't go into many studios because I never got the vaccine. They're companies I can't work for right now. And after I lost my job, there were a couple jobs I was signing up for. Went through the interview process. Oh, have you gotten your vaccine yet? No, I have not. Oh, well, that's not a problem. Look, if you just stop by the CVS. No, you don't understand. That's not going to happen. Now, if you want, I can give you a piece of paper saying I had the vaccine, but I'm sure as hell not going to get it. I mean, if you just need some paperwork, we can come up with some paperwork. Didn't get the job. So no, you get no sympathy. You don't get any of your, well, First Amendment, well, you know, better to be the bigger person. And no, there's no forgiveness. There's going to be no grace. Are you people blanking kidding me? You're shooting at us on a near constant basis, asking for mercy. Hell no. Why don't you tell those people to shut up and stop calling us Nazis? You would get, you know who is getting sympathy from me on the left right now? The Bill Maher's of the world. The Bill Maher's are saying, hey, we got to stop with the Hitler stuff. That guy gets sympathy from me. I don't think he should lose his job. But the rest of you have no problem kicking us out of our jobs over COVID, over mandates. You have no problem kicking anybody out of their job if they tweeted while they were a senior in high school in 2012 the N-word. You didn't have any problems with all these other purges. In fact, if anybody said an N-word at any time and it gets brought up in the public sphere, you lose your job. Unless you're black, of course. Isn't that a neat trick? So no, absolutely no mercy. No mercy. For the student at Texas Tech that just got kicked out of college for basically dancing on the grave of Charlie Kirk, smacking a fellow student. Simple assault, but still. When you're reveling in his death, you homie dead. You homie effing dead. First off, lady, you're at a university. You don't know how to conjugate your verbs? That's ridiculous. Number 2, you're going to commit simple assault. Not only are you not upset by the shooting, not only are you not indifferent, you were celebrating it so much so that when a guy told you to stop, you smacked his hat off his head. Hell yeah, get kicked out of college. How many people have been kicked out of college for violating the ethos of the left? Oh, he said something that was coloring outside of the lines. He said something that was anti-woman. He said something that was anti-gay. He said something that was racist. He said something that was transphobic. They're kicking you out of college. They're kicking you out of your job all day, every day. And now we actually have a decent reason to identify who the horrible people are. Hell yeah, get kicked out of your job. I can't kick them out of their jobs fast enough. I was excited to tell you that the Texas Educational Agency sent out a note to superintendents. And then they've gotten 180 complaints that they're all investigating. Yeah, Yes, if you celebrated this, if you've revealed yourself to be a ghoul and indifferent to the assassination of a person over words based on political ideology that's not even extreme, it's the mainstream thought of half of the country. Yeah, you don't deserve to be around our kids. You don't deserve to be a doctor. You don't deserve to be a nurse. You shouldn't be allowed to serve on a jury. You shouldn't be allowed around kids, period. You shouldn't be allowed around a preschool. You shouldn't be allowed to be a paramedic or a firefighter or a cop. You need to regain your humanity and somehow demonstrate that before I'm even 5 seconds comfortable with you keeping your job. I hope everyone that made a ghoulish celebratory post about Charlie Kirk gets fired. Why? I did it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. No, hey, it's fine. Just learn to code. You'll be fine. Yeah, there's freedom of speech, not freedom of consequences. That's what I was told when you kicked me out of my jobs, plural. No, fire all the ghouls. I don't care if we have a teacher shortage. I don't care if we have a cop shortage or a firefighter shortage. How about we get decent human beings who haven't said these horrible things to replace them? Yeah, purge them. Can't purge them fast enough. Coming up next, you'll hear the report. WFAA did a pretty good summary of what's going on here because, there's actually a little system in place. And, the debate is going to move from, okay, if we fire them, isn't someone just going to step in and sue and some judge is going to stop it? Make them do it. Maybe you might be right. But let's talk about that next. Do you think all these teachers deserve to be fired? Do you think anyone who made one of those ghoulish posts deserves to be fired? And look, I don't think anyone. Like, if you don't deal with the public, if you don't deal with human beings, if you're not holding people's lives in your hand, that's fine. So if you're a farmer who's herding cattle, or you're a garbage man who just picks up dump trucks, or you work in road construction, something like that, no, you can keep your job. But all you teachers, you cops, you firefighters, anyone in the medical industry, anyone in the insurance industry, hell, I wouldn't trust you to be a cook in the back end of a restaurant. Yeah, you should all lose your jobs. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. The WFAA report on the governor next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. We may be at the beginning of the great Texas purge, and I hope we are. And it's not that all teachers across the land are going to be fired for their terrible Charlie Kirk post. No, the blue states will let it slide. No, you can celebrate death as long as it's one of our political opponents. As long as it's one of those evil, straight, white Christians, and male, even worse. But at least here in Texas, when someone demonstrates that they're just god-awful human beings, we should believe them and we should act accordingly. Look, and I don't think this is a violation of your First Amendment rights. We're not putting you in jail. You're free to demonstrate what a terrible person you are. Just you're not allowed to be around our kids once you do. So a couple of audio clips are going to sort of cement the full context here. You'll hear from J.D. Vance next, but right now, WFAA did their report on the Great Texas Purge.
Tonight, we're seeing new fallout over social media posts some North Texans made in the days after he died.
Teresa Woodard explains why some people are losing their jobs and what you should know tonight.
The First Amendment gives Americans the right to speak and the right to post, but does not give Americans the right to keep a job.
A private employer can fire or discipline an employee for political speech.
Employment attorney Rocky Dunn has tried multiple First Amendment cases.
It doesn't matter if it's spoken or written, if it's on your time or the company time.
That is correct.
People in all kinds of careers are being fired because of what they said on social media about the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, from pilots to professors and teachers too. The Texas Education Agency told superintendents instances of inappropriate content being shared by teachers should be reported to the state. The TEA has received 180 complaints. And according to Governor Abbott, the educators will, quote, have their teacher certifications suspended and be ineligible to teach in a Texas public school.
Good.
Dunn is
The First Amendment protects government employees.
skeptical a permanent ban from the classroom would hold up in court.
I think if those actions are followed through by the governor, that they're going to face a lot of lawsuits. And if you ask me, I think I'd rather be on the teacher's side.
He reminds us something posted even privately and on personal time can cause public permanent damage.
And remember, employers can say you can't smoke, period. So guess what? Employers are regulating employees' personal lives every day in every way.
And it's legal.
And it's legal.
Texas AFT, the Federation of Teachers, calls what is happening a witch hunt. They say, quote, the investigations into teachers exercising their First Amendment rights outside their official duties silence dissent and encourage the purging of civil servants.
Shut up, teachers union. You're defending these ghouls. What is wrong with unions? How are y'all like on the wrong side of so many of these other issues? Like, I understand when it comes to workers' rights, how you have your opinions distorted. But seeing a guy shot in the neck in front of his family for political opinions, you're like, well, let's tap the brakes and not rush to judgment here. No, stop it. Stop it. Oh, you're leading the campaign to purge public school teachers. Yes, actually we are. And that's not a bad thing. 800-288-9227. This is Sandra in Granbury. You're on WBAP.
Hi, James. I've got a question on a comment you made, actually, prior to the cut in there.
Sure.
You had said what is acceptable is cattle people being abusive to their livestock. James, if I'm a cattle person, if I saw somebody abusive to livestock, it'd be the first one I'd take out for abuse or not having any conscience whatsoever. And if you know any history, you know that people that abuse animals are generally those that will go on to abuse children, other humans, and so forth. So sometimes some of the things that we do are misconstrued as abuse, but it's actually for the health and well-being because we do it quickly and without abuse.
That's a pretty good comparison. What do you think about the purging of teachers and professors?
I think you're absolutely right. They're in the wrong profession. If they're going to have no conscience whatsoever for another living human being, I don't want them around my children, my grandchildren. I don't want that doctor practicing on my husband. they just are not carrying the right train of thought whatsoever.
Well, it also tells you that they are the people that can be easily convinced to believe absurd things that just aren't real. I mean, that is a dangerous person who believes half this country is genuinely white supremacists, genuinely Nazis or supportive of Nazi. I mean, what kind of hellscape must they live in? Do they just like walk through the mall or through Walmart suspicious of half the people around them, thinking any of these people could be a bloodthirsty murderous, white supremacist, white national, whatever they want to call us? It's a nice demonstration of just mental weakness. Like, go do your own research, and you still believe in this stuff, and you're still celebrating an assassination. Wow. Sandra, I didn't.
I'm in total agreement. I think one of the things that I find I'm old enough, I'm 76, when I saw the internet come around and how easily people could be manipulated rather than have their own thought process, rather than their own deductive reasoning, and I hate to say it this way, but led by their nose, we have a problem in this country. And
they were led by their nose by the mainstream media and the few networks and the newspapers before that. We just changed the vehicle by which the dumb people are deceived in these days. And I don't know. I really felt like since we all have access to all the world's knowledge, that some of this would have already worked itself out. But there's people just insisting on misinformation, insisting on doctored videos of Charlie Kirk. There's a woman who got fired from I think it was Washington Post for misquoting Charlie Kirk, and she's like, all I did was criticize white people and it cost me my job. No, you lied, and you're still lying. You're lying about lying. We all know. Show me the video where he said that. And you probably heard that on Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins, and so all good points.
Again, that's just a case of them not doing their own due diligence and not thinking that there's any consequence for their action. That is a problem with our society today.
Yeah, that's the other problem. Not only do they say it and think it, they think it's safe to say out loud.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that anonymity of the internet, that anonymity of that email. And it's time that we all stand up and be responsible for what we're doing and saying and what we're teaching our young people. And I can say this isn't just in the United States. It is all over the world.
Yeah.
That people are no longer responsible. No longer are people even remotely taught about consequence for their actions.
Well, time for them to find out, Sandra. Great call. Good to start off with. So, yeah. Remember when we had the big COVID vaccine mandates, there was the mandate for government workers, which is millions and millions of our neighbors here between the post office and the military and, the IRS and all that. Excuse me. But then there was the mandate for giant corporations, which never stuck legally, but a lot of giant corporations wanted to do it anyway. And this gave them the cover to do the vaccine mandate. So whether it was pilots, whether it was nurses and doctors or teachers or whoever it was, there was a purge of people from all these industries, and it was a right-wing purge. The people who were vaccine hesitant were almost exclusively right-wing, overwhelmingly right-wingers. So the left-wingers, they followed along and they did what their good overlords told them, even if it was wrong, even if it was antithetical to everything they've been taught their entire life. They still took it and they were rewarded for it. We got to start playing by the same rules. Remember, people lost their jobs for COVID. Do not have any sympathy for people losing their jobs for celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. Coming up next, J.D. Vance's response, how he's skeptical there can be unity with people who are trying to kill you. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM and WBAP. Yeah, I was hearing Mark Lee Van Camp and Robbins before the James Show. They're my new lead-in show on 11 to 2. They were saying something similar. I was putting together the notes for the show, and that's always cool when you're doing something and the show you're listening to goes into the same topic. You're like, oh, I want to see what they're saying. And it was sort of the same attack, but I don't think they zoomed out the lens wide enough, because they're talking about what J.D. Vance talked about here, how this isn't a both sides problem. When you survey people and they self-identify as either very liberal or somewhat conservative, very conservative, and then you ask them, is political violence ever okay? There's some concern about that, but I'll play J.D. Vance, but then I'm going to zoom out, and it's going to make even more sense, and you'll understand why I'm less surprised than a lot of people are on the reaction to Charlie Kirk's death. So this was J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, sitting in on the Charlie Kirk show yesterday. He has a nationally syndicated radio show, and 1 hour of it is on Real America's Voice, I think is the network.
And there are difficult truths we must confront in our country. One truth is that 24% of self-described, quote, very liberals believe it is acceptable to be happy about the death of a political opponent.
24%.
While only 3% of self-described very conservatives agree. 3% is too many, of course. Another truth is that 26% of young liberals believe political violence is sometimes justified. And only 7% of young conservatives say the same. Again, too high a number. In a country of 330 million people, you can of course find one person of a given political persuasion justifying this or that or almost anything. But the data is clear. People on the left are much likelier to defend and celebrate political violence. This is not a both sides problem. If both sides have a problem, one side has a much bigger and malignant problem, and that is the truth we must be told.
So the context I want to add to that, because I feel like a bunch of shows are going to play you this soundbite, but not add what I'm about to add. That number echoed from COVID. Let's go back to COVID. This is one of the greatest lessons you could have learned, just the most difficult way to learn it. Do you remember back in COVID? Remember, 24% of very liberal people justify political violence. Think it's okay to celebrate an assassination like that. During COVID, and I don't mean in the first couple of months when everyone was pulling their hair out. This was in January of 2022. So we had been going this for 2 years. We had had the vaccine for over a year. Rasmussen did a poll that showed 29% of Democrat voters would support removing parents' custody of their children if the parents refused to take the COVID-19 vaccine. You hear that? 29% of you, 29% of Democrats, I should say, supported you losing custody of your own children for not behaving in the way they see fit. It was even worse than that. 45% of Democrats said they would favor governments requiring citizens to temporarily live in designated facilities or locations if we refuse to get the COVID vaccine. You know what that means? They're willing to put you in an internment camp, concentration camp if you want to be hyperbolic. I'll go with the more moderate language and just say internment camp. 45% of Democrats were okay with rounding you up and putting you in a camp because you didn't take a vaccine that doesn't work. A vaccine that hadn't been tested for 3 years, which your entire life, if a vaccine hadn't been tested for at least 3 years in huge clinical trials, approved by the FDA, it was considered so dangerous, it was illegal, even for terminal patients. But now you lose your kids, you lose your job, and you get thrown in a concentration camp. I'm sorry, an internment camp. Oh, wait. Designated facility. Yeah, these are the people that are upset about alligator Alcatraz. Oh, you're just rounding these people up and putting them in camps. So that's what you wanted to do to me. Bro, this isn't ancient history. This is 2022. This is 3 years ago. 3 years ago. And now they're doing this again. You should not be shocked. This is not a problem with all Democrats. No, but whoever this is, whoever the 24% is that thinks it's okay to celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination, for the 45% that wanted to put you in a internment camp for refusing the vaccine, the 29% of Democrat voters who supported removing parents' custody of their children if they refuse the vaccine, whoever these people are, whatever the subgroup is, because we don't have names, negative names for lefty ideas like we do righty ideas. Yeah, you've noticed that too, like the Orwellian use of the language. How many terms are thrown against me and you that are just terrible, dehumanizing, base terms? Racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, Nazi, literally Hitler, transphobe, Islamophobe. Well, what's the word for people who shoot at Christians? You ever heard the term Christophobe grace the TV, CNN or MSNBC? What about the people who are anti-heteros? What is there a word for that? Heterophobe? You ever heard that one? You know, there is the word that gets used a lot. You know, the patriarchy. But for guys who misogynists that mistreat women, there's a word for women who mistreat men and think men should be subservient. Misandry. Never gets used, does it? Why is that? So yeah, at least 29% of Democrat voters are absolutely off their rocker. I like the term far left. We've got to come up with something better than that. But there are good Democrats out there. Bill Maher is out there speaking out against it, saying we need to stop calling people Hitler. The good Democrats that are politicians aren't really saying anything right now. But there's two styles of Democrats, and one of them needs to be purged. They all need to lose their job. I'm not talking about the good ones. I'm not talking about Mark Cuban. I'm talking about the ones that would take away your kid, that wanted to take away your kid 3 years ago for not giving them an experimental vaccine. 45% of Democrats wanted to put you in an internment camp for not taking the vaccine. And now we have 24% of them that think it's okay to celebrate Charlie Kirk's murder. We have a problem with those people. Not all Democrats, not all lefties, not all non-Republicans. I'm not the fascist saying, well, if you don't agree with me, then you should die. No. But these people, we've got to do something about them, and they do not need to be around our kids. You would be surprised how many of these people are our teachers, our kids' teachers. You'd be surprised how many of these people are doctors and nurses and people that respond to firefighter calls or police calls. All of those people. Lose your job and learn your lesson. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, you're going to hear from a criminal psychologist who's going to do his best to try and explain what in the heck is going through the heads of these people who are assassins. He's written a book about it. We'll talk about it next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I know you're not capable of assassinating anyone. I'm not capable of assassinating anyone. But some people's brains just don't work like ours. How on earth do they work? Well, Dr. John Brady's joining us. He's a forensic psychologist who has a new book coming out called Breakdown, and it's a criminal analysis of Lee Harvey Oswald and Sirhan Sirhan. Might be a good idea to talk to someone who's done a little bit of research in this. And Dr. John Brady, first off, welcome to the show. What is going on inside the minds of people who are capable of assassinations like this? Yeah, exactly. So explain. Is this some guy who was going to commit an act of violence anyway and he just got pointed in this direction? Or was this an otherwise peaceful guy who, once these ideas were put in his head, he became violent? Hey, real quick, I only have 1 minute left, and I have one more question. Dr. John Brady, you're a forensic psychologist. Would we have less of these incidences if not for the hyperbolic, sensational reporting of the media? All right, we'll have to have you back on, dig a little deeper into this in the future. For now, Dr. John Brady is good. Good deal. In the meantime, if you want to check out his book, Breakdown, A Criminal Analysis of Lee Harvey Oswald and Sirhan, I got a lot of questions about that. So we'll have you back on soon, Dr. John Brady. Appreciate your time, sir. Thank you very much. All right, coming up on the James Show, a couple more clips from J.D. Vance when he took over the Charlie Kirk spot on yesterday. Two more clips I want you to hear because there's some people that are saying we need unity right now. And J.D. Vance, not so sure we need unity right now. You'll hear it yourself next on the James Show, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. We may be at the beginning. I don't know. Good to see you, too. We may be witnessing the beginning of the great purge, the great Charlie Kirk reaction purge. We have the governor of Texas who put out the call at the end of last week to the superintendents at the public schools in Texas saying, hey, let me know if you see anybody celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and we think that's conduct unbecoming of a teacher and administrator. So now they say there's 180 complaints that they fielded over the weekend, and yesterday the governor tweeted out, or I would play his audio, that he is going to be investigating all of these. And if they were found to be distasteful in their reaction to Charlie Kirk's assassination, they lose their job. I say good. Good. They can't lose their jobs fast enough. Well, what about freedom of speech? I thought you were against cancel culture. No, I'm not. Dude, I'm not trying to put anybody in jail for saying something ghoulish and inhumane. Just not going to reward you with my taxpayer-funded career anymore. And you damn sure shouldn't have access to our children if that's what you think. Now, I already played you the clip that a lot of other shows are focusing in on. But let me play you two more clips from when J.D. Vance sat in for Charlie Kirk's show on yesterday. And this was the TV part because there's a video to it. All right, so you already heard that this is not a both sides problem. Can we just stop with that? And then he reacts to some people's call, well, we need to have unity. No, you don't shoot us and say, well, why aren't we more unified? Well, because you're shooting at us. That's why we don't have unity. Yes, we need to have unity. Unity begins when you stop shooting at us.
We can thank God that most Democrats don't share these attitudes, and I do, while acknowledging that something has gone very wrong with a lunatic fringe, a minority, but a growing and powerful minority on the far left. There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder. There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family the day after the father of that family lost a dear friend. There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these terrorist sympathizers, who argue that Charlie Kirk, a loving husband and father, deserved a shot to the neck because he spoke words with which they disagree.
I think there's two beautiful points in there. Number one, I love the use of the term terrorist sympathizer. Because a lot of people, don't want to sound hyperbolic or sensational. We want to turn down the rhetoric. No, that's actually the correct rhetoric. We now have acts of terrorism, plural. This isn't just a lone wolf. I mean, how many lone wolves could there be before it's not a lone wolf anymore? There's a specific pattern of violence coming from the left against the right that's politically motivated. And if you're excusing it or fomenting it or coming up with like little compilation videos on why it's not that big of a deal, you are a terrorist sympathizer. This is terrorism. Violence or intimidation for a political cause, especially against civilians, the textbook definition of terrorism. And if you're showing sympathy, like Van Jones saying, well, we just don't know what this guy's been through, hurt people, you're sympathizing with a terrorist. You're literally a terrorist sympathizer. So you look, I know this sounds hyperbolic and the guy's just saying crazy things on the radio, so you're trying to get ratings. He's right. They are terrorist sympathizers at this point. And it's before Charlie Kirk. They've been terrorist sympathizers, but now no one can doubt it because it was really questionable, super questionable when they were ignoring the lady getting stabbed on the train. You saw them make all kinds of excuses and try and obfuscate and hide and lie by omission when it came to the trans shooter shooting up children while they're praying in mass at Catholic school. But they've been terrorist sympathizers for a while. Now it's just, you can't deny it. It's been a steady stream of terrorism and then sympathy for terrorism. You could easily label the Black Lives Matter riots as terrorism. It was intimidation for political causes. They wanted their cities to defund the police, and they didn't go through the democratic process to do it. We're a threat to democracy. Did y'all go elect some new councilmen to city council and then they voted on it to defund the police? Or did y'all have a raging hissy fit where you beat people and kill people and burned stuff down and looted stores and broke windows and hit old people with 2x4s until you got your way? You've been a terrorist this whole time. So I love that. I love that. And the other thing he said that I really liked is at the beginning, he was sure to delineate. This is not all Democrats. This isn't even most Democrats. This is a small minority within the subcategory of Democrats. And I love that because he's given space for the good Democrats to speak out against the bad ones. And we're seeing some of that. We're seeing, like Bill Maher did it. There's other people in like lower news levels that are doing it. But that little, whatever it is, 16% of the country or 12% of the country, depending on how you want to measure it, something that needs to be done about those people. And J.D. Vance is right. There is no unity with people who want you dead or excuse your death. One more clip coming up from J.D. Vance after the break where he's going to have some marching orders. Like, hey, this has all happened. We've all digested it. What do we do now? How do we change things going forward? You'll hear from J.D. Vance next. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. One more clip from J.D. Vance, who filled in yesterday for Charlie Kirk's radio and television show. His remarks were, just very emotional. You don't usually see J.D. Vance be this emotional, but it's an emotional situation, so you don't blame him. I've heard some other people already playing one of the clips I played, not the last one, and not this one either. But I think this is something that we all need to do a better job of when we have our little rants, when we have our little moments of clarity, and when we have the stage and we're saying our piece. Let's always try and couch it into, okay, now what? What do we do about that? We've talked about it. What are the actions? So J.D. Vance actually included that, and this is almost the very end of his opening monologue yesterday on Charlie Kirk's show. And this is sort of the call to action, what you can do about this.
So when you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer. We don't believe in political violence, but we do believe in civility. And there is no civility in the celebration of political assassination. Get involved. Get involved. Get involved. It's the best way to honor Charlie's legacy. Start a chapter of TPUSA or get involved in the one that already exists. If you're older, volunteer for your local party, write an op-ed in your local paper, run for office. I can't promise you this is going to be easy. I can't promise you that all of us will avoid Charlie's fate. I can't promise you that I will avoid Charlie's fate. But the best way to honor him is to shine the light of truth like a torch in the very darkest places. Go do it.
What are you going to do different now? Or are you just going to be the same person after this? Are you going to do anything different? Are you going to be more bold in calling out people? And it doesn't have to be the person next to you. You know, we like to act like what's happening on our phone and what happens on social media isn't the real world, but it sure is real world adjacent. You know, if these people are getting radicalized online, if these people, all they have to have is the material to steer them in a certain direction, well, then get online and be a part of that game and steer them in the right direction. It's easy to say, oh, we spend too much time on our phones. We all need to put the phones down. So maybe some of you need to pick the phones up. Maybe some of you people who brag about, I don't even have a Facebook page. I'm not on Twitter. I've never been on Twitter. I don't even want to be on Twitter. Social media is stupid. Maybe you should update that attitude. I remember, go back with me. You're not going to be able to go, Garrett, but people my age or older, go back with me to the early 90s. Remember when you first saw someone on a cell phone? Remember when you first saw someone on a car phone? You're like, who needs to talk so much that you can't even wait to get to where you're going? You can't even quit driving. It's so important that you have to take a call while you're driving or while you're walking down the hallway of a mall. And so I think there was a little tinge of jealousy in that, you know, because people were using it as sort of like a social distinguishing characteristic. Yes, I can afford a cell phone, and I'm so important. I need to have a chat right between, I don't know, Orange Julius and Gadzooks or whatever was in the mall in the 90s. You updated that, though, didn't you? You now talk on the phone while you're in the car. You now talk on the phone while you're walking down the hall in the mall. But you used to cuss it. Because that's what kids did. Because that was new to you. Because that's not the real world. The real world is what's happening right in front of your face. Not on the machine in your hand. Update that. You know, you think you can't do a whole lot. And in a nominal sense, you can't. But if the 100,000 people that are going to listen to the James Show this week, if just a few of you decided, you know what, I will get on Facebook, I will get on Twitter, I will get on Instagram or TikTok or some of these platforms, and I'll join the conversation, that would make a difference. You treat it like it's not the real world. It makes a difference. It influences people. It influenced this guy to kill Charlie Kirk, the stuff he saw online. Go be influential. I need you all to go be as influential as possible. Because I don't need you to just follow me and get on Twitter. I mean, you should do that. Follow WBAP and, you know, James Parker Show on Twitter. But when I retweet something or when I tweet something and you retweet it, it'd be a lot more helpful if you had, 30,000 followers instead of 8. And you can go do what you can. And if I get a handful of people like you, that makes a huge difference. So JD Vance is right. First thing you can do is speak up. Whenever you see something online, whenever one of your goofy friends posts something just god awful about Charlie Kirk or something that lets you know that they're in that insane subgroup of our Democrat friends who are okay justifying violence, speak out against them. I don't care if it makes Thanksgiving awkward. I don't care if it makes you ostracized among your coworkers. I'm just asking for a little bit of bravery, because there's a whole bunch of followers out there who just go along with whatever the crowd's saying. And there's a whole lot of people who will just let things slide because they want to avoid the conflict. Be the conflict that they want to avoid. Don't be scared to be confrontational. Don't be scared to tick people off. Don't actively try and make them mad, but don't hold your tongue because you want to be a liked person anymore. It's getting us killed now, so you have to stop. You understand that? But so I like the speak out part. I like the get involved part. He did another great recommendation out there where, hey, run for office. My God, isn't that the truth? I can understand how, institutionally ingrained and connected people can end up in DC. But it's a lot harder for me to understand how even in some of these small town school districts, you still have obscene materials describing sex acts in your elementary kids' library. That's something you can do something about. You're not going to get Jasmine Crockett kicked out of office. I know that's who you see on TV and you hear on the radio and see on your social media feed. That's probably beyond your scope. But being the sixth person in the school board in Bug Tussle ISD or wherever you're at, actually an achievable goal. Being a state rep, achievable goal. City councilman, achievable. County commissioner. There's all kinds of things that you could run for. And there is a dearth of good people running for these offices. Why? Because these offices stink. There's nothing glorious or fun about being on a school board. There's nothing glorious or fun about being on a city council unless you just think being powerful is cool, in which case you should be nowhere near the levers of power. But I look at my successful friends. I have plenty of friends who've started businesses and they're millionaires and they got a lot going on. Being a city councilman would destroy them. Being a city council would be not just a pay cut, it might cost them their business. So I know what it's like to have a career and a family and all this other stuff going on. But if you are in a position where you could possibly take the burden of running for office, by God, we need you to do it. We need you to do it now. But everybody, anybody can get on your phone and get on social media and join the conversation. Research, know your topics, engage with people. Don't be a jerk. Be nice. And if everybody did that, or if just 10% of y'all did that, it would change Texas. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, you're going to hear some audio from people who are being converted by Charlie Kirk's death. They thought they didn't like Charlie Kirk, so they're going to do all this research to show what a terrible person he was. And they found a bunch of videos debunking the Charlie Kirk myths. Optimism. Coming up next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. What I'm happening right now, over and over and over, is this next audio clip. People out there who are being told by their friends and their social media circle and the people on TV and their professors and probably their favorite actors and musicians that Charlie Kirk's a terrible person. Go do your own research. Okay, so they go do their own research, and they don't just look at the compilations that are made by their site. They actually look at the people debunking these myths about Charlie Kirk, how he's not really a hateful person, and they're learning the truth. And people are being converted that otherwise would have never been reached had Charlie Kirk been left alive to do his work. So check this out. This is just one example here, but I hope this is happening a lot.
Whether you like what he has to say or not, you don't get to just misquote him. And I understand, because when I was on the left, I thought that I could trust my party. So I could just trust the headline or trust the 10-second clip, because they wouldn't just character assassinate or physically assassinate anybody that disagrees with them politically, right? Actually, what I realized is that they call anybody a racist that has a difference of opinion in order to shut the conversation down, because why would you listen to what a racist has to say? So this will be a series. And if you are in support of this series, please like, comment, and subscribe so that I can keep going, because we don't get to just misquote people because we disagree with them.
Wow. I mean, that's just bargain basement common sense for me and you and pretty much everyone else on Team Red. But for Team Blue, that's a huge step. And if you're on the fence, there's only about 20% of the people who listen to this show that really disagree with where most of us stand here. And if you're one of those people, doesn't this give you second thoughts? Not just seeing the fact that he got assassinated, but seeing how your side, so many people on your side are reacting to it. How many people are justifying it? How many people were appalled at an American Eagle ad with Sydney Sweeney, but are okay with this? Does that make sense? Have you gone and have you looked up some of these videos in context? Have you noticed a lot of people are lying about them? Because she just did. But also don't allow the news and don't allow your professors and your social media friends or whatever to put walls of separation between these stories. These are all connected. Because 2 weeks ago, it was another trans activist shooting up Christian children while they're praying in mass at school. They just lie to you about everything. At the beginning of the summer, they were saying you're about to get drafted to go to war against Iran. Have you heard about that since? Remember when the strikes? Oh, he's knocking off World War III. Hadn't heard from him since. Like immediate ceasefire. Like they're wrong about everything. 6 months ago, they were telling you the stock market's going to crash and it's going to be another Great Depression. 9 months ago, they were telling you we're in a recession. All of these things are lies. So once you recognize that, man, most of what CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS do are lies, now you just have to go and do a little bit of research for yourself and start putting all these things together. Luigi Mangione is getting light charges, and that's indicative of Democrats being the party of murder. They're going soft on him. Why? Because it doesn't help the narrative to paint this guy out to be literally Hitler. But that's something that's going on thousands of times over every day in this country. Democrat judges and prosecutors that are putting these violent monsters back on the streets, they're responsible for the deaths of people like Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungaray. And what was the lady's name? Irina Zarutska, the Ukrainian girl on the train in Charlotte. And it doesn't stop there. That's just recent history. Remember the Waukesha Christmas parade where the guy ran his car into the people? That was another anti-Christian attack. But the anti-Christian nature of that was really downplayed, wasn't it? Well, that was a guy who got released by a sympathetic judge, someone who should have been in jail at the time. Hell, George Floyd should have been in jail at the time that he passed away. And I don't celebrate his death, but that's a guy who shouldn't have even been out on the street with his record. This dude that beheaded another human being in East Dallas last week. Did you hear about this monster over here? He's another guy that shouldn't have been here in the first place. An illegal immigrant had already been rolled up in the law several times. And it's not for light and transient causes. It's not for jaywalking or shoplifting mascara from CVS. Violent crimes, sex crimes, legal immigrant, shouldn't even be here. Had his deportation order to Cuba ready to go. It got blocked by one of these judges. A guy lost his head for these terrible ideas last week. This is all coming from one side. Look at all the murders we've had from people who are not just individual actors, but part of groups. Like the scariest thing Republicans have done, the state reps in Minnesota. I'll give you that. That was scary. What larger group was that guy a part of? Was he in a Discord chat with a bunch of other people? Because we've had murders from Free Palestine, pretty big group there. But hell, we've had at least 3-4 in the last year terror attacks from Free Palestine activists. The one in New Orleans where they ran over the people in Bourbon Street, the guy in Colorado that blowtorched the elderly Jewish people, the guy in D.C. that shot the 2 Jewish diplomats coming out of the museum. He was a Hispanic guy that converted to Islam, by the way. And last year when the trans person shot up Joel Osteen's church and got herself unalived with Free Palestine scratched onto her weapon of war. Think of all the attacks we've had. BLM shot 6 of our cops a few years ago here in Dallas, not to mention all the other riot violence they went through. Antifa. I mean, this guy could be considered Antifa. You had Antifa messages on his shells. We had the Antifa members attacking the Alvarado ICE department, ICE facility. Just 2 months ago or whatever that was? And also in McAllen. So we've had murders, multiple from Free Palestine, BLM, Antifa, trans activists. Let me ask you this. How many acts of terrorism do these people have to commit before they qualify as terrorists? Because the way it's been in my observation, if it's an angry Muslim guy and he blows up one building, all of a sudden he's a terrorist. But here, Antifa can get away with just spraying bullets, knocking people down on a almost monthly basis for the last, 8 years? They're not a terrorist organization? Spare me. Now, not all Democrats are terrorists. In fact, not even half of them. Most of them are fine. But you good ones that are listening to the show right now, if you had any guts, if you had any principles, if you had any justice left rattling around in your heart, you would be calling these people out. You would be calling out your own side. They're not going to listen to me. They might listen to you. And while it's not good for your cause, and while you don't like making Republicans look like decent human beings because you think they're evil, I get it. But you can actually save people from getting killed in the future if you can throw a little water on this fire for us, please. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, a new economic report. Great news I think you'll like. That's not going to get a lot of play because it's good economic news. You are expected to spend less in gas as a percentage of your personal disposable income. Less than this year since any year since 2005. Details coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, football fans. James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. I'm not too happy about the Cowboys' chances of making the playoffs. I'm predicting 7-10, but you know what? I'm going to enjoy the season anyway because I have Prize Picks. I can still win even if my team is dog water. And if you want me to help you out this week, they have one of the max discount squares is what they call it. So when you make a lineup of 2 to 6 players, what you do is you just look at a statistic and pick more or less on it. And so in these promotional squares, like this week, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. He's playing against the Giants. You know, they're terrible on Sunday. And his square is 0.5 passing yards. Gee, I don't know, Sean. Do you think Patrick Mahomes can get more than 1 passing yard against the Giants on Sunday? Yeah, so you pick more. And it's not a free square, but unless Patrick Mahomes just throws 30 incomplete passes, then you're going to get that square. All you need is one other, and you have a winning lineup. So do that. You can win up to 2,000 times your money, and you can do it with our money. If you're new to the Prize Picks app, download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP, and you get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. So download Prize Picks, it's promo code WBAP, and that gets you $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Let's take a small break from the tough news and do some good news. Jay Young, founder and CEO of King Operating Corporation, has some good news about the price of gas. First off, welcome to the show, Jay Young. So I see we're projected to spend less than 2% of our personal disposable income on gas, and that's the lowest level since 2005. Now, this seems like such a weird metric. Why should we be excited about this, Jay? Well, I'm interested in the way they put this. It's less than 2% of your personal disposable income. And that's one of the insidious things about inflation. It makes it so hard to judge a commodity over a span of time because, yeah, it costs more now, but the dollar's weaker now. So, in essence, in whole, in context, in real dollars, is gas cheaper than it was last year and the year before? And the answer to that is yes, going all the way back to 2005. But Jay Young, what was so great in 2005 that gas was even less of a burden 20 years ago? I hear you. All right. No, we go there plenty, but we're out of time now. All right, this is Jay Young, King Operating Corporation. You can find his website, kingoperating.com. Thank you for sharing the good news, Mr. Young. Coming up on the James Show, did you hear about this innocent man who was shot by Grand Prairie cops responding to the wrong address? I wonder why there's no riots from the people who are so concerned about police violence on unarmed men. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. In a story that doesn't even sound real, did you hear about the guy that got shot by the cops in Grand Prairie? This is a strange one. This is a situation that we don't get a whole lot of these stories, but the fact that it's local also adds a little bit of, I don't want to say fun to it, but it makes it something a little more relevant when it happens in your own backyard. And so what I kind of get from the gist of this story, as weird as it may be, is cops got a call, and for some reason they got the wrong address. So they go to some house at like 1:30 in the morning, beating on the door, and the guy doesn't answer immediately. Understandably so. It's not like he's in there committing crimes. It looks like he's just hanging out, doing what we all do at 1:30 in the morning. Sleep. That's it. Sleep. And so the cops are getting kind of perturbed. And when the garage door starts to open, the cops can see the silhouette of a man holding a gun. And I don't know the details about who drew what first or he went to put it down and who, whatever. But there ended up being a cop that shot the guy. He's going to survive. He drops his gun, and that's sort of it. Now, Casey on the morning show, the mid-morning show, was really stuck on the idea that this guy might catch charges. And rightfully so. That's wild that this guy could get in trouble for getting shot by the cops. But look, I wasn't there. I don't know all the specifics. But if the story that was spelled out on WFAA.com turns out to be true, well, it doesn't sound like the guy did anything wrong. I hadn't seen the video evidence. I'm sure we'll get body cam at some point, and we'll have to revisit this when it comes out. But this is a wild setup here, because there's a whole group of people out there who pretend like they are really concerned about police violence. They're really concerned about unaccountable cops shooting innocent men who've done nothing wrong. And there's big concern about the cops who go around shooting innocent men who've done nothing wrong and not getting put in jail for it, not getting any criticism for it. Hell, it goes around celebrated. But I noticed these same people aren't complaining about this shooting. Look out the window. Is anybody blocking the street right now? I'm downtown. There's no one blocking anything down here. Anybody go to the airport today? Did they block the entrance to Love Field like they tried to do before? No? What about the Margaret Hunt Hill Bridge over here? They like to block that every once in a while, even though no one uses it. Just gives the news something to report. Gets them some free pub. Nothing about that. Are they going to do a profile on MSNBC tonight? Are you going to hear about it on Rachel Maddow's show? Is Joy Reid going to do a segment on it on whatever streaming platform she's been relegated to? What makes this one different? For the people that were so concerned about cops shooting and or killing innocent men, they were so concerned about it. They had to riot for months. They were so concerned about it. They rioted if it was Trayvon. They rioted if it was Michael Brown. They rioted for Freddie Gray. They rioted for what was that the guy? Eric Garner. And of course for George Floyd. Where are you now? And I'm asking these questions, of course, sarcastically. Of course you can hear the smarm in my voice. Because I don't even have to say it. You know what the answer is. And you know why they don't care about this one. I'll say it. Newsflash. The guy that got shot, white. I don't care about that. So what does that mean? That means they don't really care about police brutality. They don't really care about defunding the police. They don't really care about cops being held accountable for shooting innocent people. They don't really care about that if they only care if it happens to a black person. Their driving motivation, their animating principle isn't justice for misbehaving cops. They're animating principle, and they're demonstrating it every second they're not rioting over this guy. Their animating principle is anti-white racism. Their animating principle is to take and put this terrible version of the world out there so low-thinking people can believe it. There's low-thinking people out there, no-thinking people out there who were told, oh, that Hunter's laptop's Russian disinformation, and they believed it. They were told, you got to put on this mask and follow the stickers on the floor, we're all going to die, and they believed it. They're being told right now, Charlie Kirk's racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, terrible human being, deserve to die, and they believe it. You see them, they're losing their jobs every day for believing these lies. But if you only care about police brutality if it happens to one certain race, then you don't really care about police brutality. You just care about the race part. If you rioted or complained or made social media posts or a foam core sign and stood out in the street and raised all kinds of hell about any of these other police brutalities incidences, but not this one, you're either actively a racist and selectively being outraged to foment racial tension, which is a pretty bad look on your part, or you're an easily led dupe. Take your pick. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Now, coming up in the next segment, I'm going to brilliantly lace in this story with the other headlines of the day and why the Grand Prairie cop shooting really should be a huge story, and it's not. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. So, Grand Prairie situation has some attention. And, you know, if I was really concerned about misbehaving cops, if that really was, and if I thought, you know, just misbehaving cops, yeah, that might disproportionately affect my community, but even when it affects other communities, it's still newsworthy. The fact that this story is overlooked just kind of breaks my heart. It was an accident. The 911 auto-populated the wrong address on a police call, and so 1:30, 1:45 in the morning, a bunch of cops go to a wrong house. They beat on the door. It takes him a while because he's asleep, and really he doesn't even hear he says he doesn't hear the cops. He heard the dogs. And then when he checked the driveway, he saw two sets of legs standing in the driveway. So I guess he just had a partial view. He grabs his gun, goes in the garage, raises the garage door. Cops see the gun. He sees that it's cops. So he puts his gun down. They start shooting. Now he only gets hit in the leg and he'll survive. But what a terrible mistake. And what a terrible bias that we've uncovered here. Because this is a situation where the cops are quite clearly in the wrong. Not only was this guy not a criminal, not only was he not in the act of a crime, not only was he not an actionable threat to any cops here, but the cops squeezing off rounds. We're lucky he didn't die. We're lucky the bullets didn't go through the wall into the master bedroom and shoot the guy's wife. This is kind of the fantasy case that they pretend happens when it's Michael Brown or when it's George Floyd or when it's Trayvon Martin or when it's Eric Gardner. Here's a guy who actually was innocent. Michael Brown wasn't innocent. Michael Brown had just robbed a gas station. Eric Garner didn't deserve to die for his crime, but he was selling loose cigarettes and trespassing after he was asked to leave. You know about George Floyd up and down. Here we have a chance to actually have a discussion about cops and the terrible pressure they're under and how even if you have, a job with all the best training and equipment and whatever, mistakes are going to happen because it's a human endeavor. But no, we're not allowed to have that conversation. We're only allowed to have that conversation if the victim's black. We're only allowed to have that conversation if it makes white people look bad or if it makes America look bad or right-wingers look bad. The cops can even be black. You remember in the Freddie Gray, the one that happened in Baltimore? Out of the 6 cops that arrested them, I believe, 4 of them were black? So it's not even a 100% anti-white thing. It's just whatever furthers the narrative. And they're exploiting race to do it. And the fact that they ignore this story, they're not going to riot. They're not going to go loot a Foot Locker. Oh, I thought that's how you got justice when cops misbehave. That's not? Oh, that's just all political. We got it. We understand. This is Russell and Tyler. You're on WBAP.
Good afternoon, James. I used to listen to you in Waco on KWTX.
Oh, wow. Look at you. And you're in Tyler now?
Yes, sir. Well, life changes.
Well, that's where I'm at, too. So your thoughts on this one, Russell?
Like I told your man, I am so tired of the black and white race card. I don't care what it is. I'm tired of it in this society. 20 years ago, I don't think there was a problem. And then somehow or another, we got a, quote, black president. And it's like since then, it's been all hell across the country. Let's provoke the blacks. Let's provoke the whites. Let's provoke the Mexicans. Let's provoke the whites again. I'm just sick and tired of it. I mean, God created us all equally, and we're supposed to be getting along equally. And race should not be part of it. It's a human being. Yes, it's a mistake. I mean, we all make mistakes. We're humans. And the media, and I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about the liberal media that puts all this BS out there to provoke Americans against each other. And that's all it is.
Well, I hate it because I'm always the bad guy, and they're doing this so black people in society are skeptical of me. They're skeptical of, me based on my skin tone. They're skeptical of my ideology. They're skeptical of my politics. They want them to be skeptical of my religion. They want them to be skeptical of my gun rights. And all of this is just aimed against me. It's not just that it's racist and it's kind of base and animalistic and sick and collectivist. It's that I'm always the butt of all of these jokes. I am always... Dude, there's a great, you should check this out, Russell, if you're not already on Twitter. There's a Twitter account, Sean, you'll like this too, where it's, I think it's called White Guys Are Stupid in Commercials. And it goes through and it just goes through all the new commercials that came out that week. And in any of them where there's some guy as a boob in the commercial, it's usually a white guy. Sometimes it'll be a black guy, but if it is, the superior person is never a white man. It's usually his wife, like trying to wrangle the stupid idiot husband who's doing something stupid in the driveway or breaking something in the garage. And yeah, I'm tired of it too. And Russell, you brought up Obama. This we'll never get a real discussion on this because it's so tinged with both race and politics. But Obama really was in a unique position to end the scourge of racism in this country. And I remember I first recognized this with Trayvon Martin, where there was a press conference that was going to come up. And you had the guy who was called white, but he was Hispanic. He's Afro-Peruvian, accused of killing a young black child at the time. And he came out and he said, if I had a son, he would look like Trayvon. And I knew things were going to get worse because Barack Obama wasn't black. He's half black, half white. He's in a unique position where he is one of the few people in this country who could have come out and bridged the gap right there. And he could have said, yeah, if I had a son, he could have looked like Trayvon. If I had a son with someone else, with a white lady, it could have looked like George Zimmerman. He had a chance to say, I could have had a son that looked like either one of those. He could have related to both sides. He could have brought us together. But they can't do that. Why? Because black people vote 90% in favor of Democrats, and they can't afford to lose that voting block. That is their lock on power. So now instead of solving race and burying the hatchet and bringing us together, they have to keep us divided, and they have to keep us the hated ones. So black people, Hispanic people, and white liberals are all skeptical of you and me based on this lie of racism. And that's why they keep it going. And I know it and you know it. And I think they know it. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. More calls on the Grand Prairie guy that got shot by cops next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Now I want to talk to homeowners there. This is the time when fall's coming around, so you actually want to work on your house. You can go outside and not be drenched in sweat after 5 minutes of doing anything. So when you're looking at sprucing up your home, what about painting your bricks? What about, here's something better. What about coating your bricks? James Parker here for Rhino Shield, rhinoshielddfw.com. That's what all the cool kids are doing these days. Miss Parker's talking about it, so I might have to do it soon. You take a house that has the bricks that make it look old. There's that sort of Brady Bunch color of bricks, that sort of Welcome Back Kotter look of bricks. And if you want it to look like a new house, not some old fuddy-duddy house, coat your bricks. Some people are painting them, but that's a bad idea because some paint and some bricks don't mix and you can cause it to rot or mess up the mortar or whatever. Rhino Shield, much better for your bricks than paint. Plus, it'll last longer. How long? We don't even know yet because the technology's so new. We know it'll last at least 25 years because that's how long we've been doing Rhino Shield. And it's not chipping, it's not peeling, it's not cracking. It has insulative properties. It blocks UV rays. It comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. And you can get financing. The bank won't give you a loan on paint, will they? So check it out. If you're looking to spruce up your home, don't paint your house, coat your home. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Look, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this issue with purging the people who are absolute ghouls online about Charlie Kirk. If you're just joining the show, I'm referencing Governor Abbott, the great state of Texas, is investigating over 150 complaints made to the Texas Education Agency. Late last week, the Texas Education Agency just put a letter out to superintendents, but they made it public saying, hey, we've been getting reports of people acting inappropriate and saying things that are not acceptable for a public school teacher regarding the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk. If you see anything that might be questionable, let us know. We'll look into it. So then he tweeted yesterday, yeah, we've got over 180 reports. We're going through them. Anyone found to have been acting inappropriately, not only will they be fired, they'll be put on the list to not work in Texas again. There's a certification process for Texas, and then there's also like the do not hire list once you have your certification. I don't know why they need both. You'd think they could take the certification away and that would do it, but apparently huge chunks of our teaching staff isn't certified too, so that's another different issue for a different day. And I am loving it. Now, I'm loving it, which means Team Blue must be hating it, right? Yes, they do. Go to WFAA.com. And while I was praising them for some of their great reporting earlier in the show, one of their writers lost me. He's over here writing about how the Abilene ISD superintendent posted a rant complaining about the state of public education in Texas. And really a big chunk of it has to do with some of this newly passed legislation that just went into effect this month. And it was sort of a grievance session that rolled in a few things. Let me go through some of the grievances here. He laments the idea that teachers are going to be required to catalog every book in their classrooms. And I agree that more regulation, generally speaking, is worse. But if the state is going to seize control of education, then the state can regulate it however they want. And you know what? If it runs afoul of your political preferences, I mean, I guess too bad. Why don't you believe what I believe? Get rid of public education. People can send their kids to whatever school they want. And maybe some schools catalog all their books. Maybe some schools are willy-nilly with their books. But the problem is the prepaid government monopoly. Again, different argument for a different day. But dealing with the situation we have as it is now, we have public schools. I'm in a prepaid government monopoly. All four of my kids go to public school. And I'm okay with being required to catalog every book in your classroom because we have learned that we can't trust teachers to not have a catalog of books that they are putting in front of our children. There's been a horrible, repeated pattern of obscene, sexually charged material, totally inappropriate for younger ages, being put in front of our kids. So without cataloging every book in the classrooms, how will we know if the new laws trying to prevent that are even enforceable? A new bill says that nurses can't provide health care and counselors can't provide any emotional support without a written permission slip from parents. There's a little bit of leeway on that. Of course, if your kid comes in with a bleeding knee, they can put a Band-Aid on it. But we know what that's about. Why? Because we have seen, especially in other states, nurses and counselors who are just providing emotional support. And now all of a sudden, your kid grows up and hates Charlie Kirk. He's griping about another bill that says school administrators who work on the side have to be a little more, that's submit extra paperwork. If not, they get fined. But a lot of this was easily recognized as some people saying, listen, he's just making gripes about everything Republicans have done with education. This is a blanket partisan post. And so, look, and it was just a post from Friday morning. It's already gotten thousands of shares, hundreds of comments. If you want to read the full post, it's linked on WFAA.com. But you can find him, Dr. John Kuhn. And I'm not saying a slur. His last name is Kuhn. Thank you very much, people who like to complain. But the thing he seems to be most outraged about is some of his teachers are called demons. He says they're called demons, which is one of the words the parents highlighted and took offense to. But I'm sorry, I think we all learned that some of our teachers are demons. Some of our teachers, yes, some teachers make mistakes and they assign books to 15-year-olds that are only appropriate for, I guess, 17-year-olds. And that's not what we're all upset about. We're all upset about the just parade of teachers that are sleeping with our students or hitting on our students or sending them inappropriate pictures. We're kind of ticked about that. We're kind of ticked about the teachers that are celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We're kind of upset about the teachers who push ideologies that we would not agree with on our kids. And we're not real happy with teachers trying to have secret sex conversations behind their parents' backs with children. There's a lot of terrible things that teachers have done. Now, most teachers are fine, of course. I guess I have to say that. I think that's kind of self-evident, seeing as how my sister's a teacher. I have 2 aunts that are teachers. Of course, not all teachers are bad. But if we hadn't had problems with teachers acting inappropriately, we wouldn't be putting in new measures to try to curtail said activity now, would we? If you don't want more teachers, if you want to get parents off your back, if you don't want more oversight, stop showing obscene materials to minor children. Stop teaching elementary kids about butt stuff. How about that? How about you stop sleeping with our kids, sending them nude pictures and having threesomes with them? Go to Texas Scorecard. They have the whole bad apple section. There have been not dozens, hundreds of teacher sex scandals over the last 3 years. Hundreds. You'll hear about every church sex scandal, but most of these you haven't heard about. And all these are in Texas, some of them in your own backyard. So no, you don't get a whole lot of sympathy from me, Mr. Politically Partisan Abilene Superintendent. In fact, I hope you draw enough attention to yourself that you get voted out next time there's an election. Because I'm hoping the parents in Texas are just about done with this. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, viral video from a comedian. I just want to make you laugh before we get out of here. And we'll preview what I think is going to be the top story for tomorrow. I just need to do a little more research on it, but it's going to be good. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. I am going to do this story tomorrow. Of course, there's going to be Charlie Kirk updates, and there's going to be other stories. But somewhere in there, I am bringing you some serious discussion of what happened in Godley. Do y'all know Godley? It's just the town that's a little bit south of here. It was a volleyball game where they were playing, I think it was in Hillsboro, which nice gym, by the way, Hillsboro. Not very big, but I like the way you painted the floor. That looks awesome. And there's accusations of a racial slur being thrown out there. Now, before I play this, I want you to know that most of the players on the Godley team look white. The video's from really far away, so it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, I guess they could be Hispanic maybe, or maybe really light skin or something. But it looked like they only had 2 players on their team that were black. And I'm not sure if Hillsboro had any on their side of the net that was black. And so I just thought that was important context for when you hear this report from WFAA.
It was a tight match from the start.
We were going back and forth, back and forth.
The first district varsity volleyball game between Aaliyah Cephas's Hillsboro Eagles and the Godley Wildcats. Last Tuesday, the Godley crowd was loud, but that's not what caught Hillsboro parent Natalie Rhea off guard.
But when I heard it, it just kind of like shot through me like, is this really happening?
In the third set, Cephas was serving when Rhea heard it. She went back to rewatch the game. There it was again. We counted 4 different monkey noises while different athletes were serving. Cephas's mom, Danita Jackson, says there's only one way to take that.
I think the intention was to distract her and to make fun of her race.
Rhea reached out to Godley immediately, but wasn't happy with the response. She says they called it a learning experience. We reached out to Godley school administrators. They refused to sit down with us for an on-camera interview. They say they had a lively student cheering section for that game, acknowledging some animal noises were part of that. They say it was not directed toward any particular student, and it was not racially motivated.
Have you ever been to a game where that was a standard chant?
No.
Of course not.
Monkey noises.
Godley did investigate in a statement saying an administrator was at the game and confirmed she observed nothing inappropriate in the chants or behavior. Jackson has her own take on those findings.
Maybe they don't understand because they're of the other race and it's not their race. So if they
white
can just
people
give a
can't
formal
understand.
Apology and let's move forward from it.
Hillsboro.
By the way, that's a racist statement. Yeah, these people, I'm making a judgment about them based solely on the color of their skin. They are unable to understand things that I can understand. Not based on her lived experience, but just color of their skin. Kind of racist right there. Hang on.
Investigated too, saying admin talked to Godley, but will leave what happens next up to them.
Whether it was their intention or not, it still happened. And there is a negative connotation with that noise. And so I just want to bring awareness and let them know, like, this is not appropriate. We don't need to be doing this going forward.
Yeah, Brittany, we heard from Hillsboro in your piece. Have you heard from any of the Godley students sitting in the stands that day?
I did. I talked to one student who says it was a joke, meant to be a distraction. We asked him what the school did after the fact. He says the football coach talked to them, but didn't say not to do it, though he says they probably won't. We reached back out to the district with that information. A spokesperson says admin officials did talk to some students, maybe not that student.
Do we even know if it was racially motivated? They said it was done 4 different times. Only 2 of the players are black. So if they're making the same noise at white and black players, it doesn't seem like to be a race-specific noise. All right. That is so lame, so weak. This is what you got? This is what you got. Because on my side, you're shooting at us. On my side, we're getting stabbed in the train. Our kids are getting shot while they're praying in mass. Our thought leaders are getting shot for answering questions at the quad on a university campus. You found what? Some animal noises that some minor child made to some people that could be construed as racist. And it's a news story. You know how important it is to take up 3 minutes of a newscast? You only have 22 minutes of actual news time between the commercials and the intro and the outro and brought to you by the credits. That's like more than 10% of their broadcast. Really? That important? Someone may have made some animal noises that could be interpreted by other people as racist. Oh, we'll talk about this tomorrow. But go check it out yourself and prepare for a lively discussion on tomorrow's show. That's going to do it for our time today. Thank you very much for hanging out. Mark Levin's coming up next. In the meantime, if you need more James Show action, check out the podcast, WBAP.com and the WBAP app. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.